Okay, here's my review, well, theorizing and all that other stuff, about Twin Peaks The Return, Episode 5. In Las Vegas, the two killers still wait for Dougie to come back and pick up his car after attaching the device to it a few episodes back. I theorized then that it's either a tracker or a bomb. They talk on the phone to a very nervous woman who apparently gave them the job, which was apparently supposed to be done yesterday. From the images I could see of her, even though the office where she was sitting was kind of dark, she looked like she had bruises on her face. So I'm wondering if she maybe got beat up by whoever it was that was paying them to do this job. She seemingly reluctantly messages someone on a BlackBerry. We see a light bulb by what looks like an exterior door. Nearby was a black box and a wooden bowl. The message she sends was Argent 2 with 159 next to it. Argent is another word for silver, as in the Silver Mustang Casino. The casino appears to be run by two brothers, the Mitchums. So does Dougie owe money to the Mitchums? Are they connected to this somehow? Of course, Argent is also the root word for Argentina, which we will see later in the episode. In Buckhorn, South Dakota, Constance, the medical examiner, gives her results on the body found with the head of Ruth Davenport. Constance turns out to be very funny, going through a couple of good jokes about the headless body. When she finally gets serious, she shows them a gold ring with the inscription, "To Dougie, with love, Janie E." So the question here becomes how Dougie's ring got into the stomach of the mystery man in Buckhorn, South Dakota. And that's anyone's guess. In prison, Mr. C lies on his bed and predicts that food is coming shortly, which it does. He takes the food and washes his hands, and then looks in the mirror over the sink, and he remembers Cooper's doppelganger being in the Black Lodge and laughing with Bob. And then Cooper hitting his head on the bathroom mirror in the final scene of the original series and seeing Bob in the broken reflection. In the mirror, in prison, Mr. C's reflection seems to contort into something resembling Bob's face. He says, "You're still here with me," or "You're still with me." That's good. The scene with Mr. C having his face contorted into something resembling Bob would indicate that Bob is not exactly in control of Mr. C, but rather that the doppelganger is in charge and Bob is more or less a passenger. In Twin Peaks, Mike Nelson is at work. He asks his secretary to send in Stephen, apparently the same Stephen who is with Becky, Shelley's daughter. Mike tells Stephen that he's sloppy and careless and he'll never hire him, and neither will anyone else. He then kicks Stephen out of his office and calls him an asshole. Mike Nelson seems to be a working class stiff like anyone else, and seems to be a solid guy, worried about competence and tidiness in his potential employees. It's kind of a far cry from his wild high school days when he was into drug deals and having sex with deranged older women. In a previous episode, someone said that everyone loved Stephen, but I guess that turns out that not everyone loves him. Mike wears a wedding ring. I wonder who he married. Could he be Shelley's husband or ex-husband and father of Becky? Mike is blonde and Becky is blonde. Neither Shelley or Bobby are blonde, so I guess that's a possibility. At the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Frank Truman talks on the phone to his brother Harry, who is undergoing some new tests, and Frank tells him to keep his spirits up. Lucy tells Frank that his wife Doris is looking for him, which seems to be why he's hiding in Hawk's office. Doris is a complainer. She bitches about a leaky pipe they have. She bitches about her father's car being a death trap. Frank very calmly tells her that the pipe will be fixed and the car is fine. This isn't good enough for Doris, who complains some more and then leaving Frank exasperated. After Doris's rant, Frank seems henpecked. He looks close to having a complete breakdown. In Las Vegas, Janie E. tells Cooper, whom she still thinks is her husband, Dougie, that she counted the $425,000 he won at the Silver Mustang Casino and hid it in their secret place. Janie tells him to call the people to whom he owes money so they can pay them the money they owe them. Meanwhile, Cooper cries while watching Dougie and Janie E's son, Sonny Jim, in the car. Janie E takes Sonny Jim to school and Cooper to Dougie's workplace. I'm getting the impression that Janie E is not too interested in using the money to pay back Dougie's creditors. She seems like she's more interested in keeping it, or at least keeping most of it, and keeping it secret, not doing anything too outrageous with it. She wants Dougie to keep his job, and I don't know what her plans are for it. Why does Cooper get all misty while looking at Sonny Jim? I realize Cooper's not quite all there right now, but does he sense some kind of link between him and Sonny Jim? As Dougie's kid, if Sonny Jim is Dougie's kid, would that make him biologically also Cooper's kid? Back to the vacant house, the two hitmen check on Dougie's car again, then drive away immediately afterwards, and some punks come up in a muscle car and check out the car too, and then drive away. Janie E drops Dougie off. She pushes him out the door a lot like Jade did at the casino. Outside Dougie's workplace, Cooper sees a statue pointing a pistol and imitates it. A co-worker with coffee leads Cooper into their office as Cooper drinks some more of the coffee. Dougie worked for the Lucky 7 insurance company, where he hasn't shown up for work in 3 days. A co-worker named Anthony Sinclair horseplays with Cooper and tells him he covered for him during the time he was gone and that he owes him. Two other co-workers, a man and a woman, seem to talk about an affair between them, or a possible affair. During the meeting, Sinclair tells their worried boss that one of their questionable claims checks out okay. Cooper sees a green light, flashing on Sinclair's face, and declares that he's lying in a very Cooper sort of vocal tone. This doesn't sit too well with Sinclair or his boss, who pulls Cooper into his office when the meeting is over and talks to him as Cooper latches on to the words agent, game, and case files, as the boss gives him a lot of files to read at home. Cooper has to pee, but the female office worker, who might have been in an affair from earlier, has to let him into the women's room because he has no way into the men's room without Dougie's keys. And she flirts with him, offers to let him kiss her, and then laughs as Dougie moans while inside while urinating. Janie E complains that Dougie is having one of his episodes. Did Dougie have episodes before he was sucked into the Black Lodge? Or does Janie just mean the same way that Cooper has been acting weird since he came home the night before? Does Cooper remember using a pistol? Is that why he likes the statue and imitates the statue's pose? What's the green flashing on Sinclair's face? Is this another hint from the Red Room, like the icon over the slot machines? Someone mentioned that the statue outside Dougie's workplace looks a lot like David Bowie. It does bear some resemblance to his incarnation as the Thin White Duke. But one thing I was wondering is it a real statue that's actually there in Las Vegas, or at least in whatever location where they filmed. At the Silver Mustang, the supervisor who let Cooper win the $425,000 waits for his bosses. They appear with three showgirls. They're the Mitchum brothers, played by James Belushi and Robert Knepper. They accuse him of being in on Cooper getting the money. One of them, Rodney, played by Knepper, beats the man and then fires him. The other, Bradley, Belushi's character, warns the man to leave town and never return. Bradley promotes the former pit boss to the other man's position and tells him to alert them if Cooper ever reappears in the casino. While they could be who Dougie owed money to, I'm not so sure if they recognize him. If they do recognize him, they may think he stole from the casino to get the money to pay them back. The boy whose mother is a drug addict goes to look at the device the hitman planted on Dougie's car, but before he can do anything, the punks from earlier reappear and chase him away. The three of them break into the car and manage to start it, and the car explodes. So, yeah, it appeared to be a bomb. The remaining punks take off. The boy goes back to his house right before his mother wakes up and goes back to looking out the window. At a car wash, Jade has her car detailed. The detailer finds Cooper's keys to room 315 at the Great Northern Hotel. She sees that it should be mailed back to the hotel if it's found, so she drops it in her mailbox. Jade drops Cooper's key in the mail. She's very helpful. I wonder if the key reappearing back in Twin Peaks will ring any bells. I can't believe they'd have this scene and not have it raise some red flags. At the Double R Diner, Norma Jennings does paperwork when Shelley's daughter Becky appears with bread. She apparently works in a bakery. Toad takes the delivery while Becky talks to Shelley. Becky needs money and Shelley gives it to her. Becky goes out and gets into Stephen's car. Norma tells Shelley that she needs to help Becky now, or it'll be hard to help her later. They notice Norma and Shelley watching them, and they back their car into a secluded spot. Stephen tells Becky he didn't get the job, meaning the interview he had earlier with Mike Nelson, and apologizes, saying he'll pay Shelley back. Stephen gives the disappointed Becky the last of his cocaine, most of which he'd already taken during that day. He tells her he loves her, that she's beautiful and sexy, and that she has great tits, and makes a joke about giving her bread, which she's been needing all day, which gets a laugh out of her. They drive away, and Becky looks out the roof of the car and smiles, apparently high, while I Love How You Love Me plays on the radio. It's a classic Lynch scene. So yeah, Stephen Burnett, Becky's husband, is a real shitbag. He gets his wife to borrow money from her waitress mother to stay afloat and in drugs. Again, I wonder who Becky's father is. Shelley's last name is never mentioned in the credits. I'm guessing this is some sort of deliberate secret in order to preserve the revelation of who Becky's father is. Did she stay with Bobby Briggs? Did she meet someone new? She currently seems to be interested in Red, played by Balthazar Getty, but she seemed to kind of keep it on the down low at the Bang Bang Bar when they were looking at each other across the room. Who's supplying the drugs used by Stephen and Becky? Is this the Chinese designer drug that Frank Truman mentioned earlier? Back at Dougie's place of work, Cooper holds up the elevator as everybody leaves. Outside, he waits by the statue with the pistol, which he examines closely. He seems very fixated on the statue. I'm guessing it's reminding him of his past as an agent of the law. At the Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department, Andy and Hawk read over the case files concerning Dale Cooper. Andy wonders if Hawk has found any Indians yet. Hawk says no, after giving him a very concerned look. It's another very short, very funny scene. At his trailer, which is on Whitetail Peak, Dr. Jacoby does his internet show as Dr. Amp, which appears to be all about resisting authority. He talks about people sinking into the mud and that they're put there by corporate conspiracy. Jerry Horn watches the show in the darkened forest as he lights up a joint, and a silent Nadine Hurley, this is our first look at her in this series, watches apparently from home. Jacoby gets too excited and has to calm down, and he tells his viewers to act now. He plays a commercial of himself with one of the gold spray-painted shovels with a wired device of some kind attached to it. He shills the shovels as gold shit-digging shovels for $29.99. Jacoby becoming a podcaster and an anti-authority figure feels like a perfect development for him. In the original series, he was kooky and pushed a lot of really sort of questionable psychiatric ideas and practices. The idea that Jerry Horn, now involved in the legal business of selling pot, and Nadine Hurley, who in the original series had some serious emotional and mental problems, would be devoted viewers of Dr. Amp, also seems pretty in character for both of them. At the Pentagon, a naval officer reports to an Air Force officer, Colonel Davis, that they've gotten a new hit on the fingerprints of Major Garland Briggs in Buckhorn, South Dakota. Davis says this is the 16th time in 25 years that this has happened. He tells her to go and check it out, even though it'll almost definitely not be real. But if it is real, they'll have to report it to the FBI. Davis looks worried after the other officer leaves. Is the headless body in Buckhorn now identified as Major Briggs? How's his body now showing up? Did he fake his death 25 years ago? It seems unlikely that he was killed shortly after the end of the original series and that his body has been preserved for 25 years. Just seems unlikely. Why have his prints come up 16 times over the last quarter century? Who's been checking them? At the Bang Bang Bar, a band plays on stage. As people dance, a man named Richard Horn sits and smokes right next to a no smoking sign, flicking his ashes right on the table. Two girls watch him from the next table. An employee asks Horn to stop smoking. Horn tells the man to make him. Chad, the Twin Peaks deputy, tells the man he'll take care of Horn. The man hands Chad a pack of Morley cigarettes from the X-Files and a lot of other shows. Chad leaves, opens the pack, finds a roll of money inside. One of the girls nearby, Charlotte, asks Richard for a light. He tells her to come and sit with him. Then he grabs her and treats her kind of roughly. Seems like kind of an asshole. He asks her if she wants to fuck him. He calls them little fucking smoking babies, her and her friends, and says they make him laugh, and that he's going to laugh when he fucks Charlotte. Is Richard the son of Ben or Jerry Horn, or is he Audrey Horn's son? At the very beginning of the series, the Giant said Richard and Linda. Is this that Richard? Does he maybe have a twin sister named Linda? And who's Richard's father? Mr. C? Is it possible he could have taken advantage of Audrey after the bank explosion, or even possible that he raped her while she was comatose? How are Richard and Chad related? I'm guessing that they're both involved with the drug business that still seems to be running through Twin Peaks. And who are the girls? I'm guessing we're going to find out more about them later. Tammy Preston looks up photos of Cooper and Mr. C and examines their fingerprints and seems to find something interesting there, but we're not told what that is. It's pretty much a silent scene. It seems like Tammy's becoming a bit obsessed with Cooper's cases, or the case of Cooper and Mr. C. Is that a good or a bad thing for her, I wonder? The previous agents who followed all of these clues and threads, like Chester Desmond and Cooper himself, didn't seem to come to very good ends. So will they also look into what happened with Chester Desmond, who disappeared on the related Teresa Banks case? As Cooper's doppelganger, did Tammy maybe notice that Mr. C's fingerprints are reversed from Cooper's? Possibility. In prison, the warden gives Mr. C his phone call. Mr. C says, "Thank you, Warden Murphy." The warden looks kind of disturbed, but he leaves. Mr. C looks at the security camera in the room and says that now that everyone's there, he'll make his phone call. The warden is amused by that. Mr. C wonders if he should call Mr. Strawberry, which seems to disturb the warden. Mr. C says, no, Mr. Strawberry isn't taking in calls. Instead, he knows who to call and types a long string of numbers into the phone, which seems to make the prison's alarms as well as the security screens go haywire. Into the phone, while all the alarms are going off and everything going haywire, Mr. C says the cow jumped over the moon and hangs up the phone. And immediately after that, the alarms stop and the screens and everything else go back to normal. The warden wonders what he did. How did Mr. C affect the prison's systems? Electricity seems to be an important thing to the Lodge characters. Lights seem affected by their presence, and their appearance often seems related to electrical effects and sounds, so is it possible that somehow he manipulated the electric systems in the prison to go crazy? In Buenos Aires, Argentina, we see the light bulb outside the door again near the box in the wooden bowl. Two red lights on the box flash, and the box changes into a small piece of metal. So now we can be pretty sure that the Argent 2 message on the BlackBerry most likely referenced Argentina. What is the box? What did it change into and why? Back at Dougie's place of work, a security guard tells Cooper, or it might be a police officer, tells Cooper, who is still by the statue, to move along, and then the credits roll. I think it's kind of shitty that Janie left him there after work. Oh well. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.